There we go. That mic is on. So, good morning. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. If you will take a moment to read this, basically it says you can lose your backside trading futures. Please have a plan. Please have a process and stay on that process, right? And do not lose more than you can afford to lose day trading futures, right? It can wipe you out. On the other hand, it can make you very rich too if you get it right. So let's go over to what it looks like to get it right. Okay, so number one, as we were discussing right before I started, if you're above IB high, if you're above the initial balance 5 minutes Globex high, or you can't penetrate back into the prior day's initial balance, right? Those are all clues that buyers are in overall control, right? You do not want to fight those guys. You want to look for long setups, even if there's no setups. In addition, the size of the gap, like today's gap is relatively modest, 34 points and up 8. That would be normal. But when we get in that territory where the gap, like yesterday, by the time we got to the open, was over 1%, just be aware that the buy side may be the easier side. Grab some coffee. So, from yesterday, we have a wide balance area, right? It stretches all the way down to 18,922, roughly. So this area can get relatively easily traded through. You can see there's unfair pricing and single prints in NQ overnight down here below 19. Let's call it 19,080, all the way down to Globex low, which is roughly 1900 even. All right. So if I was looking for the market to make a corrective move back down or to retest back down, the first thing I'd say is, are we below Globex low or not? Are we making lower lows, lower highs, and are the size of the rotations lower? These are easy things that you can. That's why in that first half hour, look, where are those key areas? We're not computers, right? It's hard to keep up with all these different pieces as the market is moving around, right? So that's why you need to write down a checklist so you can keep up with the stuff and make good decisions. Make good decisions as those markets are moving quickly, right? And then tie them in. I'm going to bring this all into one piece, right? The other piece or the benefit of the room is going, hey guys, I'm not quite sure we're oriented. Can we go through the basics to make sure, right? Anyone can ask for that at any point in the day, unless the market's just flying and we're already into trading. But in the morning, right? Go, hey, who's in control? Are we below prior day's low? If this is a bear market, why can't we get below Globex low, right? Little things like that will help you reorient. The other thing is, so now I'm going to jump off this chart, move it up here, move this down here, like that. The next thing is if you'll orient your locations to 30-minute levels that haven't been tested, there's stops behind those 30-minute levels. It makes it much easier for you to place your trades there. But lastly, even if you look this morning, so again, I think right now the 24 tick is the correct chart to be on, right? But even if you're trading off the 15 tick, right? The idea is, are you lining up your locations and your bars? So I'm going to go to yesterday on the 15 tick because I had some people have some problems there. Okay, what I'm looking for is very specific, okay? Now, I know that the chart may not look identical to yesterday, but what I'm looking for is this. What I'm finding on the 15 tick is it's too hard for me to hit quickly, but that arrow stuffed, I would count this as a stop. Now, why would I count that as a stop? Technically, you'll see you got paid, but really you didn't. It only went up one bar. You want at least 2 bars to get your scale off, so that's a stop. But then as you come down, right, you get this plus sign stuffed and you get the roll to the upside. The other thing that's important on both the 15 and the 24 is if you have, it's a maximum of a 4-bar combo and it shows up on the 15 tick enough on the 3-bar combo. If you get a 3-bar combo that then gets stopped out, so I'm going to show you this, how this works. On the 15 it was so noisy, but you want it on this trap, on the 15 tick, you want it side by side, and this is what I mean by that. If you get an arrow combo here, And so see how that didn't touch the fourth channel, but then this part did touch the fourth channel and closed back in? That is a valid apex trap, right? Now this one over here for me would not be a valid apex trap, but you had the arrow up stuffed and you get the roll to the downside. So when I'm looking over here, right, see how I had the red arrow over here, came down, and then almost immediately gets stopped out and then immediately trapped back in on a one bar stop. I don't have a better way of describing it, but I want my traps on the 15 tick to look like this, not going all the way across. If I'm going to go, because there's too much noise at this level of VIX. Okay, now, if we got down to below sub 15, I'd go, yeah, you're fine, no matter where you take the apex trap on the 15. But I wouldn't at this level VIX. And so this is what you're going to have to iron out, right? Is that same setup on a 24 tick has a larger stop. So you either, if you can't handle the larger stop, do the dip back in. But look how much more smooth this setup is, right? So I'm going to show you. You get this entry here. Let's see here. No. So this is your only candidate, right? At apex traps here, you're going to get stopped at 916 if you have your stop to the tick. There's no question about it, right? But then it's going to trap right away. Now, does that suck? Yeah, it sucks that you got stopped to start with, but it does make the trap and travel all the way across. And let's just be generous and just say that got you to break even, right? That got you to break even. As you go through this series of trades, see over here, this would have been your arrow up stuff, did not touch the fourth channel. Came up, apex trap, this is right after 9 o'clock, right? And it did push you all the way over to the other side of the channel. Now you can say, well, Simon, it had some up bars and some plus signs and other items that made me want to cover, and that's all true, right? But this is going back to the idea of if you get this entry and you get 2 bars and you take your scale there, you have most of your risk covered off, and you can, with the exception of Apex, so I'm talking about non-retracing accounts or accounts that don't get tagged off the retrace, you have time to let this trade roll down. So this is what I mean by that. See this here? You go, well, look, those failed. But I want one side or the other, right, at least the tag side, to be touching the fourth channel. And actually none of this touched the fourth channel. If you zoom really in, you'll see it actually missed. Before you're taking the apex trap. What I'm pushing at is what keeps you safe and relaxed, right? So as you come through here, I would not take this apex trap. Why? You did not get a stuffed arrow up or a stuffed plus right at the turn, right? So this was not at the high, right at the turn. So as you're coming up, right, my first candidate becomes this guy right here. Okay, so I want it stopped out. So you'll see we're ripping to the upside here. So this is, I'm not being clear. We're ripping to the upside and we're on trend day up. That is your first good clue that you have a trade to be set up there. One stop is acceptable, right? It has to be acceptable. If you're going to short that, that has to be acceptable, right? But then when you get up here on top, right? See that plus sign right at the high? So that's a valid entry. The next valid entry on that trade is going to be an apex trap back into that. Why? It came right off the high, plus sign stuffed, and came back. Now, if you're looking to take it the other way, I'm going to come back a second. Okay, over here, see how this didn't touch the fourth channel? But they came back, touched the fourth channel, apex trapped for the long to the upside, right? So see, so now if we erase all these lines, which I will, okay, and I come across like this, I go, okay, that was my apex trap. I had to close back into that on one bar, I didn't, so there's no trade for me. The trade off of this came off the arrow up stuffed over here, and that gave me the roll down. Was it a fantastic trade? No, but it gave me the trade for 2 bars down to get my risk off and then push. And then as I come up here, right, I'm looking for an arrow trapped on this apex trap. I don't get it here. I'm going to wait. That's the end of the day, so let me go back the other way. Earlier. Okay, here. That's 732. Sorry, too early. It worked, but no one's trading that. So, really, for me, my first trade after 9 o'clock, this was valid short. This is a valid long. You got stopped. You had to take it 2 times. And then this was your 3-bar combo over here. It can be within 4 bars, but it has to trap on 1 bar, right? So your arrow down can be over here. Trap back in. So I'm going to say the same thing again and again. If you have to have a more tedious process, so yesterday was trend up, right? And most of those trades are contra. So the 2 things I want to remind you of. The arrows were designed to, that arrow trade where it's 1 bar up at the 4th channel and getting stuffed is designed to relax you, right? You should have been able to go through the day and go, where did I get an arrow stuffed, right? Where did I get an arrow stuffed, and have it come back in, right? Even the apex trap is secondary to that. And the reason why that's important is through this entire run up, right? I don't think we had 1 arrow up, so I'm going to grant you it could have changed overnight, and maybe I'm wrong about that. But I don't think we had 1 arrow up that got stuffed in this entire. Oh, there was one right there. That was your stop in what was otherwise a move from 18,887 to 19,091. That's a 200-point run, and you had 1 stop in that, right? Where you want to get to is you want to get to the point where you go, I know I will get my trade set up, right? I know I'll get my trade set up. So this is an excellent example. Let's say you're sitting there and you're frustrated. It's all the way through the morning, and you have 1 stop on the books. If you wait patiently, you got your trade set up in 2 locations. Here was your arrow up. I'm going to make this big. And I'm as big a person at violating this as anyone else, right? Arrow up, stuffed, rolled all the way to the other side of the channel. Okay, now, this gave an arrow down, but not it had no physical contact with the 4th channel, which makes that a very aggressive trade. And we're talking about traders who want to grab the trade and have the least amount of risk, right? So the least amount of risk would have come off of stopping this out and trapping back in on 1 bar. It gave that to you. And both those trades rolled for over 20 points in each direction, which per contract is 400 and 400. Even if you're just trading 1, it's $800, right? I would prefer to think that people are trading 2, where they're taking the scale and pushing their trailer, get the risk off. But that second part, the part that's missing for a lot of us, is where does that RR come from? Where is that trade going to come from, right? And turning the game so that it's like, aha, I've got you kind of moment, instead of constantly trying to figure out where every single turn is going to come from, right? And that's what kept me out of trouble yesterday through all of this. I just knew that we were in trend mode, right? Especially when you get this where there's no rotation, right? And secondly, the other part is after the last couple of weeks, this is the least kind of price action I would have expected, right? That's a really big change where we just grab, we don't move fast, but we can't rotate down. That's like from price action from like 5 weeks ago or something like that, right? So for today, what am I looking for? Okay, and I'm going to get to an important point in just a second. I know that we're open. I'm not trading the first half hour, okay? For today, what am I looking for? Arrow stuffed at the 4th channel. If I take it inside the 4th channel, I'm willing to accept that I have a probability of getting a higher odds of getting stopped, right? And secondly, the apex traps on bars that involve either plus signs, but preferably arrows with a 4-bar combo. So like this, I would have highlighted this and gone, hey, if I can get an apex trap on that, that's a candidate. This would have been a candidate down here. So for this morning, right, I would have gone and said, these are all candidates right here. Let's see if I can erase some of these lines. I wonder how I'm going to do this. Let's try something for a second, see if this is easier to see. There we go. Okay, if that's coming off the other chart, I can clean that up. Okay. Yeah. So what I would have been looking for is apex trap on arrow. So this is a candidate. This is a candidate. And this is a candidate. In addition to looking to the arrow down and immediately stuffed all by itself, right? So then on the upside, I would have said, really, this is my candidate right there for the short, right? And then my next candidate for apex trap comes over here and over here. Yes, I know there's no apex down there. It doesn't matter to me. As long as the arrow's there, the turn bar is where the trap will occur, hypothetically. Right, so now, if this bar were to trap up and it was after 9 o'clock, I'd be long at 19,097 1/4. Stop would be the low of that bar, plus a point, right? And then what I'm trying to target is 2 bars up, right? So this will be bar 1, so I'd have an exit at 19,110. Why? Because I trapped on the arrow down, stuffed, outside the 4th channel. There's my scale. Now, I'm looking for my RR. If I think I'm in a location with RR, how would I determine that? By the 30, I did not take that trade, by the way. I would determine that by the 30-minute time frame, right? And then I also know I don't have a short here unless I get an arrow up, stuffed, and preferably at the 4th channel. Okay, so there's some advanced ways to fix that, but if you look at that trade, your entry was a 9.6 and it went to 2.2 on 2 contracts, right? That was $200 on 1 contract, roughly, and $480 on the 2nd contract. Your day's almost over. Slow down your thinking and get very specific on the trade that you're looking for to enter, and use the arrows. I'm not even using my charting levels on this to figure out. And then set an alarm, like let's say from 8:50 to 9 o'clock, and go, let me go back and look on the bigger chart and see where I'm at, what kind of day we're on, whether this is, and then evaluate. You have to do it on your own terms, but evaluate, is the speed valid? Like, for example, even if this apex traps right here, it's not a trade for me because there's no arrow involved here. And my research shows me that when there's an arrow involved, the trade goes much, much further. So this is a perfect example of what I would look for in terms of finding an apex trap that would give me a winning trade, and that I could repeat that process over and over, and that was right before your eyes. So that's what I was trying to show. It's just harder in a static environment because you're covering so much time so quickly that you don't see it in real time, right? So at any rate, I hope that helps. That's what I was looking for. I am not bearish on this market. I would be looking for pullbacks to get long. I don't see anything bearish going on right now. I see that we had a big wipeout, and I know that I went back and looked at my mistake, at my trading errors, my biggest trading errors in my trading career. And they always come like this. I was talking to Ed about this last night. Someone else mentioned it on Twitter. Is that we go down. The move down looks ultra convincing. You're like, oh, it's going to break, right? And you get sucked into that short mentality, and then you just get squeeze after squeeze after squeeze, because the short rotation down, in my experience over 20 years, lasts about 2-3 weeks, where it's the most vicious and where the most profits come from the short move. And after that, even if it trades sideways, that doesn't mean it has to recover new highs. It just means we can have a prolonged period of sideways wide range trading, right, where there's trades on both sides of that trade, but expecting it constantly to go down every single morning over and over and over again is just going to get you killed. That's just all there is to it. So that's my 2 cents. And does anyone have any questions? Does that help? Andy, Ed, anyone? Does that help? Going through that? I'm looking for arrow down stuffed on the last bar, and I'm looking for the apex traps, but very specific apex traps, one that involve an arrow on it, right? And then the other thing is, you don't need 20 trades a day. Hey, Brian, just out of interest, what's the what's been the average P&L in those accounts you've qualified at Top Step per day? Like, have they been blowout 1 day qualifications or 500, 500, 500 kind of days? I'm looking to see if we have econ while he answers that. Did I mispronounce it? Yeah, Brian. Why? What'd I say wrong, Ian? Oh, okay. Okay, so let's see. We have no econ at 9 o'clock. 9:30, we have oil, and that ends it for the day. Argues for balance. Oh, I guess he was just clarifying whether I said EM. And then it's the same, by the way, on ES, right? Same process. Over here, let me pull this up. I just spread it out. Where did this go? What is this? Okay, fine. Here. I'm looking for the arrow stuffed on ES as well. ES 24. I'm going to go with a 5 tick today because it slowed down a little bit. And ignore the yellow. I'll take it out in a couple of days. And then let's roll down. Yeah, hey Joshua, can you close your camera, please? It's open. VIX is at 17.46. Again, I'm letting the first half hour go. Okay, so y'all will be seeing me draw some experimental support resistance lines today. They're just an experiment. Don't over like this. And not surprising to see profit taken this morning either, by the way, obviously. Plus sign stuffed on the 24 tick. This should be a resistance area over here to the left. Plus sign stuffed. Now this should be this should serve as your support area back down. Again, you like these more stretched out. This is old school, guys. We had this before, right? And specifically that 19050, the 3 and 4. Yes. Using the 2 and 3 bar combos here is valid. So see how you have an arrow involved, plus sign stuff? The apex trap on that would be valid off the 24. Oh, and I'm doing these off the 15 tick. I'm going to have to think that through. Still early in the day. Very early in the day. Yep, I agree with that. Arrow stuffed there on the 24. Oh, on the 15, sorry. I want to be working off the 24. Pardon me. Arrow down stuffed on the 24. We're still inside the last half hour period since 7:30. We haven't traded above or below the 7:30 econ. Yes, we have traded over. We have not traded below, which would be the 1900 roughly. Testing the lows. And 5 minutes till 9 o'clock. Side note. Plus sign stuffed on the 24. Arrow down on the 24, on the 15, nothing on the 24. Yep. Let me do this. I gotta get those yellow squares off of there. I'm looking for the arrows. That's great. No arrow involved in this apex trap on the 24th, so I'll just wait on it. I realize it may hold, but my data says that is not the greatest trade in the world. Plus sign stuffed on the 24. That 025, if it tests, should hold first time. O two three. Within 10 points. Plus sign stuffed on the 24. Traveled all the way through the, tested both ends of that pre-econ info. Arrow up stuffed on the 15, nothing on the 24. the point of control back down below 04350. Like that. Now this 23 should hold within 10 points. First time. But it looks like that's not to be. You can't close that 1350. Done. You need a response off of that. When that works, it would hold that 2350 perfectly. So there's your 3-bar combo, right? Triangle down. So now we would look for a push to the low and an apex trap on this. So what you got was a tweezer's bottom there. You got arrow down on the 15 tick and the lift. We're still looking for the apex trap on that as the highest odds trade, I would say. You have arrow down. I have to go fix that 6-tick chart. I apologize. It's messed up. I'll figure out what I did wrong with it. But the plus signs and obviously the squares are way out. But that plus sign, arrow down stuffed, I'll be long at 53.75. 3-point stop. Long. I got stopped immediately. Wow. It's alright, I'll keep working that. News must have just hit the tape. Look how ES is behaving. Like it's not normal. Wow, that kind of sucked. Something hit the tape. Wow. No idea, guys. Super fast on the moves, too. No signal off the 24, one stop on the arrow down plus sign up. And those air gaps are frustrating, aren't they? So I took one stop in ES, which was fine. It was 3 points. I'm good with that. I didn't take the arrow down because I was trying to figure out what the hell just what happened with ES. So I'll wait just a moment. This has to be. That's what should hold on the backside test. Is that 80? So on the backside test of this line that I'm developing, this idea, it's 80 test, 70 stop, right? So I'm not taking, it's the first time to touch it. Like what it should have done is hit it, touched it, and then taken off, or you're looking for an arrow combo on that level, right? You can see how they're trying to hold it, and it's going to go hand in hand with the supernova concept. It doesn't have it quite all worked out yet, but I know I'm pretty close on it. I just don't have all the details worked out. It's a 2-bar arrow stuff. Like this with the arrow down at that 83.75, that would be valid still. That's a valid arrow trap. I'll take it 84, stop, 65. You can do it tighter than that. You can do it at 70, right? Or 65, 80 against 65. .96 for scale, if I can get it. Again, we're trending down. Scale 95.25. Sorry, moved it down. I wanted to match up that second bar, and now I'm free right on that. The idea is if I free ride enough times, I'll get a 50 or 100 or 200 point trail. Am I explaining what I'm doing well enough, or am I confusing people? This is the time to ask me, because I'll stop and explain it. And the reason I'm went down to a 5 tick is because the VIX is coming in pretty hard. There's plus sign up on the resistance at 01. It's at the 4th channel on the 15 tick. So this, I would count this as wave 1. I would look for a wave 2 up normally. This is the hard part, right? When I break it down into sections, I can do this really easily. Is it wave 1? Is it wave 2? But once I get going, and I'm sure everyone else has the same problem, right? I've got to remind myself to back out and look at the big picture, right? So this would be wave 1 up. Normally you would look for, even in a bear market, you go A, B, C, D of some variation on that to look for the short, right? So obviously this is multiple waves down, but look on the waves down, you get the excess right at the bottom. It came back and tried to press for that low, couldn't break it. So now the logical thing to do is come up and test this structure right over here. Right? We haven't done that yet. We're still a little ways off. So we'll see. That's also arrow up, stop. So now, like, see how the beauty of that, if it tags this, it would apex trap. Oh, but it's not on the 24. I'm on the 24. I'll wait. So I'm looking for an apex. I'm not looking for an apex trap. The 15 and 24, sorry, are. I'm getting confused between the two of them. Brain's still not in full 100% functioning shape yet, but I'll get it there. If you're willing to take it off the 15 tick, that's where the apex trap would come in. They need a point of control below 95. Preferably with an arrow to go lower. You need a point of control below 0450 now. Or a close below 0450. And you wouldn't want it to close back above once it does. Point of control below, arrow down. I'm pretty sure I've got that pattern down. I just got to figure out how to get it consistent. So that would be A wave down, So the best setups will come off the three waves down. A wave, A, B, C. Right? Like if you look at that. See how this would be, let's see, bottom, 1, 2, 3. So this is wave 1 off the bottom. You don't get it all the time. 1. Really, you'd say, okay, this is wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. And then that's where the best trades come from. Plus sign stuffed on the 24, right at that 80. Joshua, that's like just like we talked about this morning. Oh, 450 is the resistance up here. Oh, oil inventories are coming up, just FYI. And what I'm going to do is lower the 15 tick a little bit and stay focused on the 24. 15's just moving too freaking fast. Down 125 on NQ. ES at new lows, NQ not at new lows. You were looking for an apex trap off of this guy. Was unable. It's close, but it's not an apex trap. So you can swing it if you want, but it's not an apex trap. New lows. New lows. This is where you want to see it above at this point. I may have to adjust this as it moves along, but that's what you needed over, point of control over to get the lift, at least from this perspective so far. Oh, there it is. Point of control over, lift. Backside test of that 44 should hold. Within 10 points is my research. That's where you had to have the trap. If we're unbalanced, we took out Globex low. We tested into support. Backside test of Globex low at 03 would be the logical location. We've just gone, we went supernova. So it pushes back into that 44 and again into this 28, which is value area low, I believe. Should work. And it's been a whack morning, but I'm glad to see it's opened up. So that would be wave one up, right? If you look at it, it depends on whether you're looking at the 15 or the 24 from the larger perspective. That's one wave. It wasn't a dominant wave. So I would look for it to come back to the 44, which would also coincide with the 50-60 retrace off that bottom. Right with the 62 would be that 44 test. Also, arrow up. If you're trading the 15 tick, apex trap on that would be valid. It's a harder trade because of the speed. So now you would have a 69 entry on that trade. Whatever that is, 69 and a quarter. I'll move the chart over. And again, you haven't hit the fourth channel on the 24. We're close to it, just haven't quite tagged it. Now you can't get the apex trap on the 24. Here comes in all the volume to test up at 01, 03. Arrow up, stuffed on the 15, close on the 24. Arrow stuffed on the 24. I'll take that 97 against 10. Remember, that would also set up an apex trap. If you want the highest odds, you'd wait for the apex trap. That would be off of this. Notice the volume declined on the 24 tick on that second move. You would need a point of control. All this will go hand in hand eventually. Need a point of control below that. Point of control below. You should not see a point of control back above 95575 now, or even really at close when it's perfect, it won't get back above. So the way is 06 versus 96 versus an 06 stop. Just like that. See how they couldn't get the point of control? The perfect one is it never gets to close above, but then the second one is they never get the point of control above. And if you use it on a 24 tick, it's easier. So you simply could have done actually a 96 against an 02 because it shouldn't have closed above on the 24 would be the reasoning. So I'm still perfecting that part of the process. I need to go clean this 6-tick chart up. I have an easy way to do that too. Oh no, I don't. Damn. I'll fix it later. Plus sign stuff there at a lower high. And what this should break down into is a balanced day, is my guess, with no econ to drive us. So the way that line will be used, okay, cool. And I'll show that to you as soon as I have a chance. I just don't have it perfected, so I don't have all the rules around it perfected just yet. Is the difficulty. Trap at 0175 would be on an arrow combo. I will take that if it sets. And my guess is we're now in the middle of the range. This will be the hardest area to trade in, which would be a no-duh answer for most people. That 0775 just barely traps back in. I mean, damn, by the hair of its chinny chin chin. I think actually, technically, yes, it does. Just by the hair of its chinny chin chin. So 0775 for the short. Not that I'm enthusiastic about it, but that's the trade. Time limit 0775. The stop on that will be 23, let's just call it for good measure. So size correctly, please. And let's hope they just take care of it by not bothering to trap in on it. Problem solved. Order pulled. So if you look at this, what we really need below now are these two guys right here. We need a point of control back below 1150, or at least a close below 1150 without closing back above. I would count this that the 15 tick is having success. You're just gonna have to have a lower win rate. It looks like it's about a 56% win rate versus ES. I would just prefer to wait in this environment on the arrows up. That's your trade. I prefer to wait on the arrows up on the 24. Right, so now it would be 025, 75. Against 38, basically. Now it's nothing. Order pulled. Now it switches. The bar with a point of control underneath 90675. Not 02675, excuse me. This makes it much easier to figure out when we're trending. We're just traveling through the mid of the overnight range. We're in fair pricing from overnight on ES and in NQ. No, not in NQ, we're underneath fair pricing, but in ES we are in fair pricing. We gotta get above 54.60 in order to get out of that. Both current day and overnight unfair pricing on ES. I think we've handled today pretty well. Any thoughts? Has the commentary been helpful again with the added information, or overwhelming? That's what I really want to know, because I can just stay quiet on where I think it's going to break away if you want. I just need to know if it's helpful or confusing. Okay. If it's confusing, it's all right. DM me, right, and let me know. The last thing I want to do is make it harder. The whole point is to make it easier in what's a relatively tough environment, wide range on a balanced day. Just P&L wise, I'm up 1,000 on my top step, 0 on my apex, I haven't touched them, and pretty good in my own account. Plus sign up on the 15. The trigger for that would be a 40.75. Again, that's hard in this particular range. It's about a 12-point stop on that, so it would be a, let's just call it a 52 stop. Not possible now. So what I've noticed is a lot of times we take our perception and we have our read, or what we think the bias is of the market, or what we think the market is telling us, and we flip it around to what our own personal bias is. If you're doing that and the market's fighting against what you think should be happening, step back and go, am I trading my bias, or am I trading the market's bias? Or what's that word for condition, market condition? I forget, but there's a word that they use. I forget what the word is at the second, but I'd agree with you on that. All I know is this: the best trade there is that arrow stuffed on the 24 tick. Keeps you in happy land. Not perfect, man, but it is so much better than getting this bone crushing trying to short this. And you know, people without the level of sophistication that we have are just getting annihilated. We've taken out into unfair pricing on ES. Confirmation bias. No, it's I didn't have the market scenario. Like yesterday was trend day scenario, right? But if you, so one member in the room was shorting against that scenario, and he goes, I didn't have the right read, right? So you got to make sure the read is what the market's telling you. Like here, who would argue with, we've just gone trend up, right? You'd want a pretty good setup to short that, right? And the rotations have dropped significantly, so you wouldn't want to keep jamming in short after short after short. You want to limit the number of stops you took in this condition till you saw the market trading both sides. It's not biased. Damn, what's the word? Hold on, I can tell you. Context. Thank you. That is the word I am looking for. Context. So overall, we're in balanced context after trend day, right? And the context is buyers have it right now. They've traveled all the way through the overnight range, again, or a lot of the overnight range, right? We took out stops. They did a very convincing job making it look like they were going to make it a profit-taking day. And ES is back flat on the day. NQ is still down. And we don't have the setup yet. So what I would say is, in that condition, what I would find myself saying is, so I'll use myself because I'm a great example. And Bill knows this because I've had the conversation. How can we keep going straight up, right? Or it must give some of it back at some point. I've had this conversation with Bill many times in frustration, right? And Bill would always answer me the same way. Well, you don't have a signal to short, right? You don't have the signal, nor the rotation, nor the context, right? So you're just deciding, right? And Bill can confirm that I've had this conversation with him many times. You're just deciding, Simon, that the market should stop going up, right? And I'm not the only one that does it, but I'm happy to admit that I do it. I look at it and go, can't keep going. Got to turn, got to go back down and retest. And then I find myself taking like 3 or 4 stops in a row, or at least I used to, right? As Bill also reminds me, I get triggered. I'm sure I have PTSD on it. He's like, but you don't do that anymore, Simon. You just feel the pain of doing it. And it's true. I feel the pain of doing it, right? Because I can tell you, I've looked at this market many times, and I've gone, oh, there's the excess. I'll do something like this. There's the excess. We're done. Second wave up. Got to go lower. Right? And then they jam it for another 30 or 40 points. Now, 30 or 40 points doesn't look like a lot on the chart, but it covers 2 or 3 stops for me. Right? So, force yourself to be in the trade that you are trading. And Ian, I will explain in a minute why I'm going down on this chart. But see how I'm not getting the arrows stuff? So I've got to change it until I get that. Let's try it with 4. I'll show you what I'm looking for, Ian, while this thing is ripping straight up. There we go. Let's see if I can get rid of some of this stuff real quick. Okay. I'll have to fix these on this chart, but what I am looking for is this. It's so far away. Here, let me change this real quick. There we go. Arrow at the apex, stuffed. Arrow at the apex, stuffed. Arrow at the apex, stuffed. That's what I'm looking for on this ES. I know you don't trade it that way, Ian, but that arrow, when it pops in on the edge like that, then I just have to figure out the right tick size for it. There, 5 tick works. I get it over and over. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 ticks work on it just fine. In the afternoon, I might have to drop to 4 ticks. But that's what I'm looking for. Specifically is that arrow down on that last bar, Ian. And it turned, I just started trading ES again on it once I figured that out. It made it easy for me to find. So that's a 5 tick with the DS4 setup, right? And you can see through here. So I'm talking to everyone in the room, right? See how we just don't have an arrow up that's getting stuffed or an apex trap? Okay, we may want to have the long, right? But who raised their hand at the low and go, hey, we're going to shoot the range and hit back to the other side? I didn't, right? So if you want that, what you had to do is go back to this, right? And you had to go, hey, we're above that yellow line, and I'm looking for an arrow down stuff. Well, nothing over here, just in set, right? And it's set right here after it got above the yellow line. Here. And that's it. But you can see those arrows stuffed, even if you took them on the edge, have helped you, but they've stopped appearing on the edge completely. So that tells me to stop trading, which I am very grateful for. Ed, you have something for me, buddy? I'm not busy. If you want it, hit me. If not, we can talk about it later. Need a point control below there. Or at least a close below without closing back above. But I'm grateful to not be shorting this, because it would be very easy for me to go, it's short, it's short, it's short, it's short. I agree with that 100%. Like, I didn't have to read to go, oh, it's going to sweep the range again. I just knew, I think I'm in agreement with you. You'll have an arrow up stuffed at 54.62 and a quarter. I will attempt that with small size. I've just started trading ES. Again, just started, so I'm limit 62 quarter with, that's a 5 tick. I'm going to use a 3.5 point stop. So 62, 65 and a quarter, 65, 75. Potential plus sign stuffed on the 15, nothing on the 24. Or you have the plus sign stuff. If you're willing to trade the 24, it'd be 78 against 89. Like that. So the reason I switched to the 15, right? I don't have it triggered on the, I'm waiting here, this is potential, but plus sign stuffed, I don't have it on the 24, I don't have an arrow up. So the other way you can use that is if you don't have the arrow up or the potential on the, and this is a little bit funny, but it's actually this. This guy should hold on your backside test. It's only one bar, so yeah. And then they got to battle between that 64 and that 79. But okay, 62.50 short ES. Let's make it a 65.75 stop. Don't short more than you can afford to. I'm definitely not. I'm small. I'll tell you, I'm 2 contracts until I get used to the process. Scaling half. Coming up against that IB low, and I didn't get the arrow up on the 24, which concerns me. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right about that, but that concerns me.